We're here in Singapore at Consensus, and we're here with the lead developer for Bitcoin EBC, I must say. Could you please introduce yourself?
So I'm Amaury Sechet, I'm the lead dev of Bitcoin ABC, which is the main implementation of Bitcoin Cash.
Nice. Recent developments, like 2 weeks ago, there was this stress test. How do you look back on it?
So I was not really involved in the organization of the stress test. I'm a bit ambivalent about it. I had like very positive and very negative things to say about it. So I would say first, it's very good to make stress tests that gives an idea, that allows to collect data on what are the actual bottleneck for scaling, and so that gives us some actual data to know what to focus on developing forward. So that is very good. I have some disagreement about how it was done exactly.
Timing.
Yeah, so the timing was not ideal because a lot of company staff were not available at the time it happened to monitor and handle the situation. As a result, some company in the space ended up having a problem handling the load. So I think we should do that again in the future, but we should make sure that it's better coordinated with various sectors in the space.
What do you see as a developer as your main challenges? I mean, we talk about scalability, speed of transactions. What are the challenges for you and your team?
Yeah, so the thing we want to focus on with Bitcoin Cash is making Bitcoin Cash a very good form of money. And so the different axes that we want to improve on, to have better money characteristics, is first make sure we can scale to a very high transaction volume, because when transaction don't go through properly, then it's not a good medium of exchange, which is one of the characteristics of money. The second point we want to focus on is make sure that zero-conf is very secure. So right now in Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash, transaction takes on average 10 minutes to confirm. And so after 10 minutes, there is a very high level of security for those transactions, actually higher than credit cards and stuff like that. But for the first 10 minutes, the level of security is a bit weaker, which is probably good enough for like small value payment. If I buy a sandwich or a beer or a coffee or something like that, it's good enough. But if I want to make payment with a value that is a bit higher, then that's a bit of a problem. So we want to improve that.
And also, I mean, mostly when you buy a sandwich, you don't have 10 minutes to wait. You just want to buy and go, or buy coffee and go.
Yes, well, for a coffee, it's probably good enough. We did a few changes in Bitcoin Cash that makes it harder to double spend during those first 10 minutes. But my opinion is that it's not quite enough yet. We need to do more.
All right. And also the speed of transaction, can that be increased?
What do you mean by the speed of transactions?
Yeah, I mean that you actually pay, as a customer for your coffee and sandwich, and then, or is that flawlessly? Because that, you pay in seconds.
So it's all probability, right? Yeah. So right now the probability that you get double spend during the first 10 minutes is actually quite low, but the higher the price and the higher the incentive for an attacker to try to screw with the system, right? So I would consider the security level good enough for small value payment. So like you were mentioning, like for a coffee or a beer or your sandwich or something like that, the level of security that we have is adequate for this kind of use case.
Yeah, I'm talking about the speed, not the security, but just the payment. If I'm at the shop,
if we do a payment, it's gonna appear in your wallet like within seconds. It's very quick, but you don't have the guarantee that it's going to confirm. It's very similar to chargeback with credit card, right? When you pay with credit card, it only takes seconds, right, for the merchant to accept the transaction. But for, usually for like 2 months, about 2 months, there is a possibility of a chargeback so that the transaction is reverted. And so the situation is similar here, except it's on a 10-minute time scale instead of a 2 months time scale. But you receive the transaction like right away, but for the first 10 minutes on average, there is a possibility that the transaction actually doesn't go through.
The focus is on payment. Is it also one of the future for crypto in general to be a currency? Not only a store of value.
I mean, I don't believe that you can really separate those characteristics. Like the whole idea that you have those currency for medium of exchange and those currency for store of value and those currency to do something else. We already have very good tool to do any one of those stuff very well that that predate the whole blockchain stuff, right? So we have very good medium of exchange. Credit cards, for instance, is like very convenient to use, very or cash itself, very convenient medium of exchange. Yeah. But it's not good store of value, right? Because the central bank, they can inflate the supply. It's not scarce. And on the other hand, we also have good store of value like precious metals. But they are not very convenient to use as a medium of exchange, right? Like you cannot pay your sandwich with a bar of gold, a small bar of gold, or it's a very good sandwich. But so I think where the revolutionary innovation comes in with technologies such as Bitcoin is that this is a technology that can do both. Right. And I think this is where the value actually is. So I'm not very happy with, this narrative that goes on in the space. Yeah, I don't think it makes a lot of sense.
So what's your position in the whole debate between BTC and BCH, Bitcoin Core or Bitcoin Cash?
Well, obviously I'm a proponent of Bitcoin Cash. I'm working on the main implementation of it. So
you are also supporting the hard fork, etc.
Yeah. I wrote the. So right now we have several implementation, but at the beginning we only had just one, and this is the one I'm the lead developer of. So I'm very much leaning more on the Bitcoin Cash side of things because I'm not quite convinced by the whole store of value narrative that Bitcoin can be a store of value. It doesn't need to be a good medium of exchange. I don't think this is something that is going somewhere.
And the Lightning Network, some people say that will help Bitcoin to. Did you dive into that? What it means?
Yeah, I actually think the Lightning Network is very interesting technology, but I don't see it as a general purpose scaling solution, right? It does very well in certain use cases, but it performs quite poorly in other use cases. So I wouldn't bet everything on it. No. And if some people want to work and deploy Lightning Network and Bitcoin Cash, I would be happy to work with them and help them make it happen. Like I have nothing per se against Lightning Network. I just think that it's ill-advised to bet everything on it and not scale on chain.
Yeah, all right. Thank you very much for your time. And besides Bitcoin Cash, do you have any favorite other coins? Maybe as an investor or just a follower of the space?
Yeah, so I'd say privacy coins are interesting in general.
Zcash,
like Zcash or Monero, this kind of stuff. They
Zcoin.
So I don't know Zcoin very well. I actually met with some people from Zcoin 2 days ago, so I definitely want to look more into it. I don't know enough right now to have a good opinion about it.
Right. Thank you very much for your time and all the best.
Thank you. Samwise.